Great. So I'm so excited you guys are all here today for the kitchen clean out. I know I definitely need this. I hope some of you guys do too. So welcome. I'm really glad you're here. I'm your host, Jillian, and as a health and wellness coach, it is my mission to help busy professionals stop turning to food for comfort and love their body inside and out. You know, when it comes to comfort eating, it's not really just about what you're eating. A lot of it is about how you're eating, who you're being when you eat. And today and tomorrow, we're going to talk a lot about the what in the kitchen clean out, but we're also going to start to scratch the surface of like how and who you're being when you eat. If that makes no sense whatsoever to you, that's okay. We're going to talk about it. But yeah, we're going to start with resetting your fridge and pantry so you can start a healthy summer reset with food. It's a 2-day workshop. If you can't be there for both days, it's totally fine. You can watch the replay. I'll be sending it out to you. But we're going to start off by cleaning everything out today, assessing what's left. Tomorrow, we're going to talk more about how to restock with healthier replacements, a little bit on nutrition label reading. It's like nutrition label reading 101 for dummies. So it's just a very simple overview. You're in the right place if you're trying to break the habit of maybe turning to food for comfort. When you're feeling stressed or bored or tired, you want more energy and to prove to yourself that you can eat more healthy, but I deserve a little extra sugar cravings, wine and potato chips or whatever it is, fill in the blank, they're getting in the way. And you know that you really want to make some healthier choices, but not feel deprived or feel like you're just giving up eating tasty food because we don't want to live that way. I know I don't want to live that way. So we're going to do this step by step. I'm going to walk you through and do it in my own fridge and pantry as well. So it's very casual, collaborative. I love when you're on camera because it just makes it a little bit more fun, but feel free to ask any questions. Go ahead and unmute yourself, hop in when you want to. If you prefer to type in the chat, that's totally fine as well. And yeah, let's get started. The only rule, though, for today is we are practicing curiosity without judgment. So this means as you go through the clean out today, if you notice any feelings that come up around some of the foods, just notice them, be aware, and try not to judge yourself. It's not about making you feel bad about any of the junk food that we've bought or what we should or should not be eating. None of that. It's just about like getting curious and seeing, what habits you might have that you weren't even realizing that you had and see what else is possible. And then by the end, you're going to have a healthy pantry restocked and ready to go to make healthy eating a little bit easier. So first, we're going to take stock of what is in your fridge and pantry. If you feel overwhelmed doing all of it, you can just, pick one place to start. I'm probably just going to do a tackle of all three, the fridge, freezer, and pantry. But we're going to take a few minutes first to just throw out anything expired, past its prime. Go ahead and just go through everything, check expiration dates. We're going to throw out any produce that's maybe gone bad that you haven't paid attention to. I know sometimes I feel kind of guilty throwing away produce or things like that I feel like, oh, I should have eaten this in time and now I'm wasting it. And so it kind of tends to sit there. This is the time to just throw it all out, start fresh. Notice if you have any packages that just have a few crumbs left. I know I'm guilty of this sometimes. We have different bags of different things and, nobody wants to be the person to throw it out when there's just a few pieces left. So be that person today. Any leftovers that need to be tossed, any of that stuff. So just go ahead, take a few minutes to kind of just dive through and see what all can be cleared out. So I'm going to be doing this with you. You can see my fridge and pantry in here as well. Where is everybody tuning into from today? Feel free to type in the chat. Oh, Ashley, that's okay. I'm glad you're here, Ashley. Yes, LA. All right. Maryland, LA, more LA people. Yes, strongly representing the LA community here right now on this call. Wonderful. All right. For example, I can't even tell you the last time I had bought this kimchi. I think it's been in here for 6 months. I think kimchi is one of the few foods that lasts a long time, but I don't trust it. So today is the day, guys. When was the last time anybody actually did an intentional clean out of their fridge or pantry or anything in your kitchen like that? Is that something you guys do regularly or not at all?
I do my fridge all the time because it grosses me out to have anything that's expired. And my husband's always like, oh, we'll eat that. I'm like, we will not. Okay. Because I'm not driving you to the emergency room.
Is he one of those people that thinks he has like the strongest stomach of all time?
Yeah. And he also thinks that food in the freezer never goes bad. Like he thinks you could keep it in there for 10 years and it would be totally fine. Yeah.
No, I think he and my dad would get along very well.
Probably.
Like, it's frozen, it's meat, it's fine. It's been in there for 5 years. Like, no.
Just found some stuff that expired December 1st, 2022. So that's been in there a while.
Good time to throw it out. And I think it's interesting just as you go through. I mean, I feel like I'm usually pretty on top of like cooking at home and buying groceries regularly and cleaning things out. But it's like, even when you just take the time intentionally, you don't realize what you're buying and what is accumulating and what you're not eating, everything of. It's like, maybe I don't need to be buying that. And I know I have a lot in my pantry. So yeah, this is just the initial clean out. We're going to be going to the next phase of comfort foods after this. So just maybe take a couple more minutes to just clear out the like obvious throwaways. And then we're going to move on to the next thing. All right, how are we doing? Does anybody need a couple more minutes? Good. Mindy's good. All right. Okay, so now we've cleared out some of the obvious nasties from our fridge and pantry. So next we're just going to assess, what is left. Let's look at some of your biggest comfort foods. So I want you to just look through your fridge and pantry, or just think about the things that you typically do gravitate to. So items that feel like the most tempting comfort foods to you. And I say tempting, like, it sounds like such a bad negative word. And I don't mean it in that way, but it's just the things that call to you. Think about like when you are watching TV late at night and you just want a little something, to cozy up with on the couch and munch on, or you've hit that 3 p.m. slump in the afternoon and you really need something sweet. So some people, this could be cookies, this could be chips, it could be ice cream or wine or chocolate. So you can go ahead and write that down on your worksheet if you know what those go-to comfort foods are. And if you have them in your fridge and pantry, just go ahead and identify them. For me, a big one is chocolate. Love chocolate. I am somebody who does need something sweet. So I always keep like a bag of these or some in a jar. And does anybody want to share what their go-to comfort foods are? The things that you go to typically? If not, it's okay. Jamie?
I definitely go for sweets. In my pantry, I have a shelf that just has nothing but Oreos and cookies, and it's just a shelf of cookies, embarrassingly, but I definitely go for those.
Yeah, and there's no shame about it here. Like, I want to say, like, this is a safe space. There's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no nothing. It's just identifying, like, oh, I didn't even realize like I had an accumulation of all of these things in this one spot that is so perfectly situated here on my shelf, right?
Right.
The cookies. The cookies are like the biggest thing for you then?
Yeah, I've got varieties of them. I didn't realize till I opened the pantry. It's a shelf of cookies that every time I go to the store, they always have clearance on cookies, and I'll grab whatever it is, as if it's an Oreo, if it's a Chips Ahoy, you name it. I've got the package in my pantry.
Okay. Well, it's good that you can identify that then, you know, that like cookies are your thing, right? It's good to be like aware of what your triggers are and what you typically go to. In order to change anything, first we have to be aware. So I think it's good to just notice those things. Anybody else know what their go-tos are? Oh, cheese. Yes, Ashley, cheese. She put that in the chat. So I try not to eat dairy and gluten for health reasons, thyroid reasons, whatever. And it just doesn't make me feel great. But I have cheese, funny enough, in my freezer because my mom came to visit. So we had like a cheese plate. It was like a special thing, right? The problem is it's left with me afterwards. So I would be like nibbling on it throughout the week. And I had to stick it in the freezer so that I wouldn't actually touch it anymore and save it for another time. So yes, I understand that, Ashley, very much. Dark chocolate chips and peanut butter. Yes. And there's ways to make that a little bit healthier too, Mindy. So, I mean, that's good to know.
Yeah. I mean, I have some friends that make like kind of healthy, like, you know, protein bites and things like this. And I am not like, that's not necessarily my jam, but I have noticed recipes from like no cook. I'm like, okay, that's more my speed. But I also think, I mean, I really love food. So it's like, sometimes it's sweets, but it's also, sometimes it's savory or like, you know, like cheese, like a charcuterie type snacky stuff, or like as soon as summer hits, I'm like, I don't know why this is, but I get like sugar-free popsicles. I really like them. They're probably loaded with chemicals. I don't care. That just like reminds me of being a kid. And just always ice cream. Like I have to be very judicious about when I have ice cream in my house. Because that's like the number one, which I guess is a sweet, but yeah. So good.
Yeah. So we got ice cream, we got the sugar-free popsicles, some different things. And it's good to know that like sometimes you want the sweet, sometimes you want the savory. And maybe there's like certain times of day that you go for one versus the other. Or maybe it depends on, you know, the week that you're having. Hi, Nancy. Welcome. We're just diving right in and talking about like what comfort foods you typically, comfort foods you typically go to and kind of gravitate towards, and figuring out like maybe where we want to put those. So you have like your comfort foods. I want you to think about like, what is the feeling associated with that food? So when you're going to that food, what is it that you're seeking? Like, is it some little bit of comfort? Like, what is the feeling associated with it? Comfort, frustration, stress, boredom, could even be like anger or sadness. I know a lot of the people that I work with, stress can be a trigger. And then just that wanting something like comforting at the end of the day. It's like, We've been running, going, doing everything for everybody else. And at the end of the day, like you just want that little bit of comfort. So I don't know if that resonates with you. Yeah, relaxation and de-stressing, Mindy said. Salty crunch, yes. Boredom, comforting. Comfort, reward. Yeah, the whole like, I deserve a little extra. I've been good today. I get to have this now as like my reward. That's a big one. Good. So whatever that feeling is, that the food kind of treats that symptom, we'll just say, like, what is a ritual or an activity that maybe you could have in place that gives you a similar feeling? So, for example, if I am craving chocolate and a glass of wine after a really stressful day, and I'm like, oh, it's been really stressful, I just deserve to sit down and have this chocolate and a glass of wine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But if I'm doing that every single day and it's making me feel like a little bit out of control, or like I could be making better choices, I'm not feeling so great the day after I have this glass of wine every single night, then I would stop to ask, like, okay, well, what am I actually wanting? I'm wanting to just treat myself and feel a little taken care of at the end of the day, right? So maybe something that would be better. I'm not a big bubble bath person, so I would say like a hot shower, but maybe you would do like a bubble bath and make it like a spa experience. Or I know some people love like a good skincare ritual. Maybe you have like a really nice facial scrub and you just do like a little 15-minute moment for yourself to relax at the end of the day. Maybe if it's just giving yourself 30 minutes to read before you go to bed with like a cup of tea, like something else that gives you a similar feeling, and you can ritualize it and have it kind of in your back pocket to start creating a new sort of a habit. So for me, another one that I love is I love to sit on the couch at night before I go to bed in my pajamas, showered, comfy, and just like watch a show on Netflix. For me, it works. I feel so rested and rejuvenated after doing that. And I don't have to be eating a snack to enjoy that. So does anybody have like a ritual or something that they can do? Yeah, talking with friends on the phone. That's good. Does that give you like, that's a similar sense of like comfort and that you're being, rejuvenated in a way? Cup of tea and a good book. Yes. Always very relaxing. I'm really bad about reading. I'm trying to get better about it. I joined a book club to kick my butt into gear, and I don't know that it's working, but I love the idea of reading and getting cozy at night. Stretching. Yeah, that's really good too. Sometimes we just feel that angst in our body from a stressful day. And even though like the glass of wine and the chocolate, for example, or the ice cream kind of makes us feel good in that moment, I think we benefit more from getting out the anxiety or stress or whatever it is out of our body in a physical way. So yeah, stretching is a really good one to do. Hanging with the fur baby. Oh, yes. What kind of fur baby do you have?
I have a schnauzer.
Oh, so nice. I have a little Cavapoo. I put her in the office with my husband though, because she's a terror. So I hope yours will make an appearance and is probably better than mine.
I'm sure she will.
Yes. Puppy cuddles are the best, or kitty cuddles, whichever one you have. So yeah, having like a ritual in place, you can write that down on your worksheet, something else that you can try instead, or just something you could be already doing, but just making a point to have that in your back pocket is like, oh, I'm turning to this right now. Maybe this would actually be a better habit to try instead today. Maybe let's switch it up. So it's not about deprivation. We don't want to necessarily get rid of these foods, but consider if you do want to get rid of them. So we have our comfort foods here. Maybe you have them physically in front of you in the pantry. I was saying cheese is another thing. So we bought these when my mom was around. These are like little Parmesan crackers, which I don't normally ever buy something like this, but it's been here and it calls to me. So I might ask myself, like, what do I want to do with this food? This isn't about deprivation. We don't have to just throw everything out and say, we're not eating any of this. This isn't about that. It's more about making the best choice for yourself. So consider putting them on a higher shelf or towards the back. I know, Jamie, you had mentioned that you have a whole shelf of it. So maybe you put it on like a higher shelf. Maybe you put it a little bit further towards the back, or maybe you just clean out a few things and you kind of consolidate so that you have a few things that are like the best of the best cookies. So when you do go to have one, it feels more of like a luxurious treat rather than just, eating like the crappy store-bought cookies. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's just like picking the best of the best so that when you do have it, you just really, really enjoy it. And you don't feel like you necessarily have to have it every day, So think about like what makes you feel the best. So putting them out of sight, out of mind. If throwing it out and just getting rid of it feels the best to you, you can totally do that. I'm probably going to do that with these because they're really like not that fabulous anyways. So that's what I'm going to choose to do. Another thing you can do kind of similar to the cookies is, maybe you choose to have like, instead of every night having like wine and cookies, maybe you pick like 2 nights or 3 nights that you are really going to intentionally enjoy it. And you kind of put it in your calendar, kind of pick what days those are going to be. So you have something to look forward to. I think sometimes when we ritualize it more and we make it more special, we enjoy it more. Instead of it just being this habit that we don't even think about doing, and we just do it automatically, just being really intentional with it. And that way you get more enjoyment out of it. And it's really about following this like 80-20 kind of a rule when it comes to food. It's not about eating healthy 24/7 and aiming for perfection, because that does not exist. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy all of these things or that like certain foods are bad. It's just finding a balance that really works for you and makes you feel more in control of your body and makes you feel good at the end of the day. So how does that sound, everybody? What did you choose to do with your comfort foods?
I think it'll be a good idea for me to consolidate and get rid of the ones that really don't bring me joy, that I just picked up out of convenience, that they were there and I bought, and
Yeah.
then keep the ones that will make a special treat and that I really will appreciate and enjoy when I have them.
Yeah, I like that. It's like make it a more special ritual rather than just like the mindless eating. And then you're just like, I didn't even really enjoy that. So like, why did I waste all of that? So yeah, I love that. Picking like your favorite ones and the nicest ones. Donna, you don't have a substitute ritual. You usually get those salty cravings in the afternoon. So you need to think of something creative. Yeah. And that can be really hard if you don't really have any time. So it's even like, what's even like a 5-minute ritual? I know I had a client who, she just had this habit of like, anytime she had a break, she just beelined for the fridge. She didn't even know why. She wasn't even hungry. It was just like this automated, habit that she had gotten herself into. So we came up with like a menu of like 5-minute comfort rituals, I guess you could call them, whatever you want to call it. A little menu of like 5-minute things that you could do for yourself that give you a similar sense of like taking a break, taking a breath, So that could be, I don't know, like what is like a 5-minute ritual? Does anyone have a 5-minute ritual that they love? I mean, we mentioned puppy cuddles, things like that. Like you can do that in 5 minutes. You can even just go in the other room and maybe do a few stretches. I will share one that I actually started doing this morning because somebody had shared this the other day, to put on a song and just like do a little dance in the morning. I know it sounds like so ridiculous, but it is actually really, really fun and puts you in a good mood for the day. So I started doing that. I mean, that's 5 minutes right there to just get the stress out physically from your body and just feel a little bit better. So yeah, having like a few of those 5-minute rituals to kind of give you that same sense of relaxation is good to have in your back pocket.
A lot of times I talk myself out of it, but I will just like a couple times I'll put on like a 5 or 7 minute timer, and I'm just like, the timer works because it makes me get up and go. I live in a cul-de-sac. So
Mhm.
I'll just be like, how many times can I walk around the cul-de-sac in 5 minutes? Because what I noticed is that I would do the break, but then I would be walking in circles on my phone, and I would get home and I'm like, well, that didn't feel restful at all. That just
Yeah.
sucked.
Mhm.
So instead of like, I mean, it was nice to be outside, but I was like, okay, like I need to go be outside. So
Yeah.
listen to music or something, like listen to one song and see how many times I can walk and then come back in and sit down. It feels better. And then when my kids get back from school, instead of beelining for the kitchen, I will just go and I'll be like, okay, it's 5 minutes of playtime. And then I'll do that.
Oh, I think that they would go wild if you were going to be that excited with them in 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, and that's the hard part because it often gets longer than 5 minutes really fast.
I don't think they understand a concept of 5 minutes, probably.
I mean, they do, like, well, it's time, everything's timers. Like they have to hear like that, and that's it's helpful having toddlers because I just have to treat myself like a toddler sometimes.
Mhm. Yep.
Yep.
I think it makes us feel the silliest sometimes, but just being like a kid, thinking of activities that you did as a kid that made you happy. I think even as an adult, we get out of tune with that, and we need to tune back into what made you happy and feel comforted and free as a kid, because most likely you weren't drinking wine, right? And your parents probably weren't feeding you 5,000 cookies or whatever, comfort food. So it's like, what did we do as a kid that just made us feel happy and free, and like maybe tapping into that as well. Learning from your kids. It's a good idea.
So I actually I'm trying to grow tomatoes this year, and so I'm out there in the morning and at night watering them. And so if I'm watering the tomatoes, I feel like I also have to water the schnauzer who's sitting there with me. And then I'm also like, let's get some water on me too, because I used to love running through the sprinklers. So
Oh,
a few times a day, I'm like, why not? Like, water's not going to hurt anything. Yeah, it's just fun to be silly.
I love that idea. I mean, if I didn't live in LA in an apartment and I had a yard, I would do that too. But
I'm in an apartment. My neighbors probably think I'm nuts, but I'm like, yeah, I'm at
or
least
go
cool.
one of those parks where the water kind of shoots up too. I mean, that's fun too. That works.
That would be fun. I just
Yeah.
have that.
So many good ideas. But yeah, I mean, if you do find this challenging, or you find that you do have a lot of emotions coming up around food, like again, no, there's no shame around it. I even have feelings around food all the time. It's just knowing how to recognize it, work through it, and noticing if it is a problem, well, what else you can do instead. I do work with clients one-on-one to help them stop turning to food for comfort, start loving their body again, help them find a really good relationship with food as well as exercise, which is another big part of the equation. So I'm going to share more about that tomorrow and how I work with clients, but I just want to let you know that that is an option in case you ever wanted more guidance. If you ever want to learn a little bit more about me, I'll put that in the chat there. But yeah, now we're going to assess what's left. So we've gone through like the comfort foods. We've gone through getting rid of some of the crap that probably didn't need to be there and that had gone bad. So now we are going to look at what things you have that are good that you didn't maybe even realize that you had. Maybe you didn't realize you had all of these canned goods and all of these vegetables or something like that. I tend to forget, like I have a lot of variety of canned beans and tomatoes or canned pumpkin or things like that stashed in the back. And you may notice like, oh, I didn't realize I had this. I want to have more of these things on hand. Or maybe I've had this and it's getting near the expiration date. Maybe I should try and cook that with that in the next week or two. So see if there's anything in there that you want to have more of. And you can add that to your grocery list for the restocking. And also just be proud of yourself that like, I do have good things in here. There's room for improvement, but it's not about just saying like what we're doing wrong or what we could be doing better. Like notice the good things that you're doing already and build on that. I think that's very important. It's also good to notice, like, are you surprised by anything that you don't have very much of? Like, for example, do you not have any canned veggies or beans or whatever on hand, like at all? Yeah, so it's good to make note of that too. Like, oh, I didn't realize I don't have any of this kind of stuff. Maybe start adding a couple things to your grocery list. And we're going to talk about that more tomorrow as well. Like good things to have on hand, things that I like to keep on hand. fresh is always, they say the best, but like, let's be real. We live in a modern world. We're all busy. There's nothing wrong with having some canned foods on hand. I have full healthy meals where I just make it with 3 canned or frozen or refrigerated things that I always have on hand. And I just think that that's practical. It's way better than just ordering takeout or a pizza. So do yourself a favor. And, God forbid, what COVID taught us, you got to have some things on hand in your pantry because you just never know. Got to have those canned goods. I said COVID, sorry. Bringing back bad memories. So when we clear the clutter, we throw things out. We're going to make way for all of the new and get organized. So we're just going to take, these last 10 minutes or so. We don't have too much more time in here. So go through and clean and start just organizing some things around now that you've kind of cleared out some things. And we're going to make space for when you are refilling tomorrow. So I've got some cleaning supplies and paper towels. I know that I need to do that because a couple of my produce drawers are full of crap, but take a minute to kind of, go through, move things around. I think it can be really helpful as well to just organize based on your goals. So for the most tempting foods, let's just say that maybe you're trying to avoid or just eat less of, consider putting them towards like the back of the fridge or the pantry or wherever they are, or put them on a special shelf so that they're a little bit harder to reach. You have to be a little bit more intentional about grabbing it. And things that have like a shorter shelf life. So if you have like produce that tends to go bad really easily, we have like a produce drawer, but if you notice that you always forget to use it in time, maybe you put it on the shelf, like in the very, very front. It's a good place to put some of like the healthier items and things you want to make sure that you eat. And then maybe putting things like all of your sauces or condiments or things like that towards the back that you may not use as often. So just kind of start to organize like based on what your goals are, what you want to see the most towards the front. And I am going to go through my fridge and pantry as well. I'm going to give you an up close and personal view. And I'll show you some of the tools that I like to also organize a little bit better. Is anyone else like an organizing nerd like I am? Love organizing. It's great. Oh, here we go. Now you should be able to hear me. So some things that I love to organize with, we love having these hard or not hard seltzers. Yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid. Flavored seltzers on hand. So having something like this to be able to store everything a little bit easier is really handy to have. I do a lot of meal prepping, so I've got meal prep stuff here as well. And so things like your produce, you may keep that organized in here. I'm going to have to clear that out. Some other things that are good organization tools to kind of keep your food more organized. I love these canisters here. So I have all gluten-free kind of grains here, but like quinoa and buckwheat and gluten-free oats and flour, kind of running low on that. So I need to add that to my grocery list. And having this pull-out drawer is really, really handy. So I love having that so you can actually access all of the stuff that's in your pantry and not have everything that's in the back completely go bad without you touching it. That sucks. And Some other things that are handy for organizing. We have we eat a lot of smoothie bowls around here, me and my husband. So we keep an obnoxious amount of peanut butter. And yes, peanut butter can be good for you. We're going to talk more about reading nutrition labels tomorrow to figure out what is actually, a better choice for you. And I love organizing cans with this little stackable thing here to help you save space. And little stair-steppy trays and things like that. So you have more room for things in your pantry. Yeah. Do you guys have any organization tools that you like to use, or do you feel like you need to get more of?
I have one that I like. It's I'll try to flip it so you can see. It's not really good, but right here I like this little shelf unit because it allows me to have my Ziploc bags, my stretch, my restaurant wrap, all that's in one area, because before I had things stacking it would just collapse. So it's really this little case here, or this unit, that allows me to know where it is. It all has its place and it doesn't clash on each other.
Very nice. Yes. Love to keep things organized, especially if you have a tight space, and you don't have very much space to work with.
I think one of my problems is I live in an apartment, as I mentioned earlier, and my space is small, but the shelves are really, really deep. So when I throw something back there, I don't see it for another year or two. Even now I'm pulling stuff out going, what was I thinking when I bought something of this stuff? Because I don't. So I think that's one of my struggles, is how to take advantage of this space that I have without losing everything in between.
Yeah, I think that one of these kind of things would maybe be really helpful. I'm struggling trying to figure out which camera I'm using, for goodness sake. But yeah, even when you have a really deep shelf and you just lose everything that's back there, having something that you can pull out and then be able to grab different things on the side could be really helpful. I mean, I just bought this from, bless it, Bed Bath and Beyond. They are no more, but that's where I bought it from. So yeah, you could do something like that, or even just having little shoebox plastic bins where you're able to kind of just put things all in a bin and kind of pull them out so that you're not constantly just pulling things aside and moving them around. Yeah, that might be a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a little bit less drilling involved. All right. Hi, Z, welcome. All right, we are actually getting close. Now let me switch this back here. Did I do this? Okay. All right. Oh. Having technology issues. It seems like a good idea to have two cameras, but then it becomes very confusing. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. All right, so take a couple more minutes to just kind of clear whatever out. Does anybody have any questions? No? All right. Well, so we're going to wrap up for today. Z, I know you had just joined, but I'm going to send you the recording. Today, we've really just taken the time to clear out all of the bad food, the rotten, the expired, whatever. And then addressing, what are our comfort foods? What are those things that we tend to go to for our 3 p.m. slump, or, late at night when we've had a long day and we just want to relax, we want to treat ourselves to something. And then maybe figuring out, what is another ritual that I could start that gives me that same sense of comfort and makes me feel good, but maybe doesn't make you feel like crap afterwards and actually gets you towards your goals. So we've cleared all of that stuff out. Now we're going to make way for the new. And so tomorrow we're going to talk more about reading nutrition labels, just a very basic overview, things that I look for on a nutrition label that maybe might surprise you, what I look for and what I don't really look for. And then talk about what healthier foods you can try in replace of some of these comfort foods, if that's what you choose to do, or to lessen some of those, and they'll make you feel really good, and have things on hand so that you're not constantly just like rushing at the last minute and ordering takeout because you've got nothing on hand. We hate when that happens. So in case you want more one-on-one guidance with comfort eating and accountability around that and implementing healthier habits, I am going to share a little bit more about my program and how I work with clients, if that's of any interest to you at all. But make sure to come back tomorrow, same time, if you're able to, and we are going to restock and get you all set up. So unless anybody has any questions or comments or whatever, I will stay till whenever, but if not, thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, great. So I will see you guys tomorrow, hopefully.
Have a good night. Thanks.
Good night.